Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
Hey, listeners, welcome back to the Farm for Profit Podcast. This is Tanner.
This is Corey.
And we are all here. This is David.
We're all here. That's right. We had a fun show right and early over a cup of coffee. Excited to introduce that guest to you, but we appreciate you sharing with us the guest that you want us to talk to. So continue to do that. Farm for Profit LLC at gmail.com, 515-207-9640. Go check us out on Patreon. Some of the stuff that we can't put here for various reasons is going to be there. So a lot of value. Got some good partner discounts that we can roll into there. Dave is pretty much giving away the farm. I didn't say a farm, the farm, as in a cliche. So a lot of fun things sitting out over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to get right into it. That's the shortest intro we've ever done.
Do you want it? Do you want to get into it? I mean, you know what we didn't talk about was a listener comment or review, because all those matter. Please go out, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, hit subscribe, like, share, rate, review, and follow. And we'll probably put a show together to compile some of those.
For sure. We always love getting the good, especially the good ones. And I just wanted to say, go leave a positive comment on one of your friends' social posts.
Okay.
Yeah, go do that. We need a little more love and less hate in this industry, so do it.
I love that. Well, why don't you introduce our lovely guest for the day?
Yep. Today on the Farm for Fun show, we are heading back to a state that we don't quite talk about the best, but they are our friends. They are our neighbors. This man is an OG in the chemistry world. And I'm talking like before Corteva, before DuPont. Well, actually, before Pioneer.
Before Pioneer.
He's a DuPont guy that came to Pioneer, that came to Corteva. He's been there a long time. I've heard his name around. I've never got to meet him before. I'm happy to do it. He does seem to be kind of confused because he lives in Nebraska. He shops in South Dakota, and he works in Iowa because that's where all the money is made. So please welcome from Northeast Nebraska, Mr. Ron Geis.
All right.
You know how they have before Christ? He's just before you were born.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
So I was actually doing some farming in 2012, and the year before, I got hailed out and had 40 bushels an acre, and I thought, corn, I thought, well, it can't get any worse than this. Yeah, 20 bushels an acre in 2012.
Yeah.
I wasn't farming much longer. It just wasn't working too good out there.
I had a couple fields that were lighter that one made 11 bushels.
Oh.
That was all sand.
Yeah.
You know, and then another one that made 120, but the rest was like 180 to 220.
Oh, wow.
You know, and in
On
when
five
corn
plus
goes
dollar, yeah.
when corn
yeah.
goes to $7-8,
Yeah.
looks pretty good.
Yeah, but you got to endure the 80 acres of which you harvest 70.
Oh yeah.
4 years out of 5, you know.
Yeah.
And the 1 year out of 5, it's different deal. But
That's great. No, we're making new friends already. Coming here early morning. This is gonna be a farm fun show with coffee.
Yes.
We should have put some Baileys in
No,
there. Or
good.
No.
We got to be here all day.
it will facilitate that 11 o'clock nap.
Yeah.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Maybe if it was Saturday and I wanted that nap, that'd be good.
That's good. But we've got a new friend of ours, Ron Geis, here sitting in the studio. Welcome to Central Iowa.
Yeah, thank you, Tanner.
He is just looking at the shelves and looking at everything that's behind us. I don't know if we're going to get his attention or not.
Yeah.
I feel like he wants to take it home with him.
Well, he got here early just to view everything, so
Uh-huh.
it was good.
Well, and he got a lot to view because you had a lot on the counter out there that you are going to make me put up another shelf.
Well, another basement needed to be gone through, and so I saved a lot of the relics from it. So, yep, we got some off-brand stuff, even some Tony Reed gleaners and red. But what's cool about that stuff is it was a 1987 edition from the Farm Progress Show in Alton, Iowa, which my family's 7 miles away from that, so that's kind of cool.
That toy is literally older than you are.
It is 1 year.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Not older than Dave.
No, he's a dinosaur.
Hey, let's not talk dinosaurs. I remember riding them things as a kid, man. I'll
Speaking
tell you
of
what,
dinosaurs,
it was fun.
Ron, okay. Ron, tell us about yourself, where you're from, and what you do today.
Well, I'm from southern Nebraska. We had a dairy farm that I grew up on in the Seward, York area. Basically, right where irrigated agriculture starts, that's where our place was. And one of 6 kids, and went to high school, graduated at Seward High, and to University of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Started as an animal science major and looked all well and good until microbiology started to stare me in the face, and I thought, ag education doesn't look too bad.
So
Start
one
looking at
class
that
is always
curriculum.
get you,
Yeah. So I graduated with ag education. I spent the summer between my junior and senior year. Now, normally I'd go home and farm because gravity irrigated farm, you needed the help. You guys probably don't remember, you might. The PIC program, 1983, half of our acres got set aside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we had such a glut of corn back then.
Yep.
That the overall program was half of the acres you could sign up that you got paid to not farm it. So Dad set aside everything that was not under center pivot. Now we had 560 acres, so we're not talking a huge farm here, but it's like, I don't need you this summer, find a job. So I found a job with Monsanto in Kansas, talking to farmers about after wheat harvest, spraying their wheat stubble with Roundup to kill the existing weeds, and then no-till it the next year into milo, grain sorghum. I really liked the work. And then I headed back to college that fall and did my student teaching, and really didn't like student teaching like I did the ag business.
Yeah.
So started in with DuPont right after college, 1984. My bride and I were married in August of that year, and had a sales territory in western Nebraska. The big impetus for the sales territory was we understand that currently there's only 50,000 acres of soybeans out there, but it's going to grow to 2 million really, really soon. So it's parts of this guy's, parts of that guy's, parts of that guy's. We'll put this together into sales territory. Not a lot of business now. So we're going to also want you to do some of your time on research and development. So I had a chance to do some research work, had a chance to do sales. Spent 5 years out there. After 2 years, DuPont acquired the Shell chemical company. So, the gas stations, Shell.
Right. Yeah.
They had an ag chemical business, product called Blade X and Extrazine and Pydrin insecticide, which later became Asana insecticide.
Well, you shouldn't have said that, because now we're going to end up with Shell gas signs all over the state.
Yeah. Put that on the wall, right? That's an agriculture-based thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, 5 years later, after that merger, some things changed around. I had a chance to move back home to the Seward, York area, and had a sales territory there. At this point, business was growing, and just had a sales territory there for about 10 years. And then Roundup Ready crops hit. And boy, if you were in the herbicide business and not selling Roundup, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
So we were cutting a whole lot of people back. Had somebody that, for whatever reason, wanted me to cover an Iowa territory. And I found out the reason later. But at the time, it was, well, do you mind if I live back at Cindy's home? Because, we've been with my folks, my home for 10 years. And boy, right there, not too far from Iowa, is Cindy's home. So, yeah, you live wherever you want. We can't guarantee you'll have a job in a year. So you just move where you want. So we landed in Maskell, Nebraska, home of the smallest city hall in the United States of America.
Oh.
So if you're ever looking for a hot vacation spot,
Maskell? Is that what you said?
Maskel.
How small are we talking? Like this room?
The city hall?
Yeah.
Oh, heavens no. Like between here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like a closet.
It is so small.
He said,
you have to go outside to change your mind. It is that small.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Dave's closet is bigger than that.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yes. He just hand motioned to a space that's probably smaller than your closet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not Dave's though.
So anyway, that's where Cindy's family's from. So we settled in there.
It's a village. It's not even a town in Nebraska.
So there's like 60 people, and they're all related to Cindy. Okay.
Maskell is a village in Nebraska on Google.
Is her maiden name Maskell?
No. There is, the Maskells live there.
Okay.
And that's where it was named from. Things changed.
It does have a church.
Yes, yeah, big Lutheran church.
Of course we would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One church, no bar.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It's
Yeah.
a bad ratio.
Well, it's uncommon in that area that you don't at least have one of each or 3 bars for one church.
Got some topography, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. So this ground is shaped like this. The roads are shaped like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of hills. Yeah, if you just look a mile south, that's our place. So we bought land back into the family, had gotten out of the family, but a couple hundred acres there, and it's all pasture land. And then we've added a little more to that since then. So,
And you can look north and see South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Yes.
Yeah, not too far.
yeah, you go up to our highest hill, and you can see Centerville, South Dakota, which is about 25 miles away.
Wow.
Yeah, or Vermilion is right across the river there.
Just outside of the Mulberry Bend Overlook.
That's right.
Sounds like a beautiful place.
Looks like good hunting.
Turkeys and deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the way Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, herbicide selling. How'd you get to where you are today?
You mean in my business there?
Yeah.
So so the mystery. Why did I need to be in Iowa? All of a sudden, there's this purchase of Pioneer, and Pioneer's home is Iowa.
Yeah.
And I think this regional manager kind of took a shine to me and thought, this is a person we want to see long term, and you better be located in Iowa, because if things really go bad, which they did in the herbicide business, we're going to still win Iowa.
Right.
We're going to put a stake in the ground in Iowa. And so when I entered into Iowa, there were 22 of us salespeople, and at our low point there were 5.
Ooh.
So things really got cut hard. In the chemical world.
Right.
Obviously the seed world was good and strong and steady, but not in the chemical world.
What year was this? Early 2000s?
So 2000, we moved up there Christmas of 1998, and then in 1999, DuPont purchased 20% of Pioneer, and then in 2001, all of Pioneer.
Yep.
So then it became Pioneer, a DuPont company.
Yep.
All right. So then we had a job change to where instead of just being the chemical person, that we did the chemical and the seed. So I would have been like the territory manager for chemical and the territory manager for seed.
Right.
So you'd go
Which is hand in hand, but also like two completely different worlds.
entirely different worlds.
Yeah.
So in essence, you were the sales manager for the Pioneer salespeople.
Right.
Yeah.
Get out there and sell Pioneer.
Yep.
Right. And then the next stop down the road, you took off your manager hat and put on your salesman hat. Please buy my chemicals. So it was such a dichotomy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how stressful it was until 3 years later when that changed back to where it's strictly just chemistry. And Cindy says, you're just a whole lot easier to live with now. What do you mean? You're just so into that moment you didn't realize how hard that was to do both jobs and wear both hats. So chemical business was bad at that point because Roundup had at that point taken over soybeans and corn, and then we had this little bug show up called soybean aphids.
Yeah.
And we had a Cadillac product at that time called Asana that was really working on soybean aphids. So that helped bridge us through, with continued chemical business. Until Roundup started to falter, and then other chemistries came in, and that all was sort of growing. The fall of 2017, DuPont and Dow merged together. Our chemistry business, our everything. And then that eventually became Corteva. So now all of a sudden we had kind of an upper tier chemistry business to go with our little chemistry business.
Yeah.
And of course the seed businesses all merged together. Shortly after that merger, I got the position of what's called market development specialist, which is essentially a kind of a fancy word for the agronomist for the chemical side.
That doesn't make any sense, does it? Market development specialist is an agronomist?
Well, there's sales agronomists, there's research agronomists. It's probably more on the sales side.
Right. So my support team is all of the 7 salespeople in our district. And I also help support all of our seed partners, particularly the seed agronomist.
Okay.
So I'd be the Pioneer sales agronomist, Hogemeyer sales agronomist on the west side, New Tech agronomist on the east side, Brevant across the whole works. And then I've also branched that out to include university extension folks, crop consultants, and basically anybody that touches in northern Iowa that wants support on agronomy, and of course through the salespeople that we have, that also includes the retail, the whole retail network. So I work a lot.
So did you know Ron before this?
I didn't. I've seen the name. I think you're the first person that I've ever known in the Corteva umbrella that came from DuPont.
Really?
Well, being in Iowa, right? I knew a bunch of Pioneer people,
Oh.
and then became DuPont Pioneer.
Well,
Yeah,
remember, we
and all
chunked
that.
down to about 5 of us there at one point.
Yeah.
So there's not too many to find.
There's not too many to find across the
Right.
I've always wanted to make a history podcast, an ag history podcast, just to kind of go through what some of these mergers and acquisitions had. And Corey and I and Dave have all talked about this. I mean, Corey's got a Hagee seeds seed sack, burlap bag over there on the wall. And we all know Hagee right now is a sprayer company.
Exactly.
Didn't realize there was a bunch of history there. So I know there's stories of how you could follow somebody, but I think you're probably one of the unique ones to say that you've pretty much worked for the same company,
right,
without having worked for the same company your career.
Right. Yeah, I'm one of the few that haven't, either they haven't figured me out or I haven't,
So did you have to interview for those jobs when the companies merge and acquired?
Tanner, there were 10 different times in my career where I was told, stay by your phone, on such and such a day, such and such a time, and you'll find whether you have a job or not.
Huh.
So, whether, I don't know that it was so per se interview on any of those, but,
So
when
why
all the cuts were happening, that's
why
what it's like.
stay? I feel like that would rub me the wrong way. Like, really? I'm on the chopping block again?
That's a good question. I guess it's what I do. You grow up. You grow up as a dairy farmer. What do? Well, you go milk cows every day. You don't really have an option. Or I'm not saying you don't have an option, but this is what I do. This is my thing.
We just talked about this in another show of like his generation and our generation and the generations coming, like how many jobs they have.
Damien's, yeah.
On Damien. Yeah, that's what it was. Like you've been in probably not the same role, but within the same company.
Well, yeah, not a lot of different roles, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 different areas.
What were you doing 2008 through 2013? I'm going to try a little experiment because that's when my time was.
2008 to 2013.
Yeah.
In 2008, we had the aphid year like we've never had before. So not only did we sell a tremendously large amount of Asana, we had a few service calls on Asana.
Oh, yeah. And that had a respray policy.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, we sort of pioneered that research policy. In fact, there was a customer up in Lamar's, Iowa, came to me in 2005, said, "Hey, Ron, can we get a respray deal on Asana?" I said, "Well, what do you mean? What are you talking about?" Well, we're out there, the middle of July spraying Roundup on our beans. We just want to throw the Asana in and be assured that we don't have to, treat aphids again. Well, we had some residual with the Asana, and aphids, were kind of coming on, and it's like, I don't know, let me run it up the flagpole. Well, we got the okay to do a pilot program, and 0 resprays in 2005. And 2006, we ran it again. Of course, by this time, we're like, man, that sounds like a good deal. Saves me an application. And our part of the deal was, if you have to respray, we'll give you the chemical. You provide the application.
Right.
The customer's like, well, it saves me from having to pay an application.
Yeah.
If it holds. 0 resprays in 06, small number in 07. And then in 08, the worst aphid year ever, I think we resprayed somewhere around 5% of the acres. Well, 95% we didn't respray.
Yeah.
So...
Was that because they were getting resistant or
No.
just...
It's so many.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
The residual control, it lasts for 10, 15 days. But if you knock out that and no new ones come back in, it's like, well, we're good.
Yeah.
The other magical thing about aphids is at that point in time, I mean, you could mark your calendar on August 25, they all disappeared.
Yeah.
They're just gone.
Really?
So we did a respray policy up through August 20 or 25 or whatever, and there was a firm cutoff date. Back to your timeline, in 2013, that was a year that Cindy and I went to see my brother in Virginia, And we made kind of a last-minute decision. It was close to Labor Day, and it's like, well, it's August 25, and we didn't have hardly any aphids, so no reason to be home. Let's just do a road trip. We're going to go to the East Coast.
Yeah.
On that drive from Sioux City to like St. Louis, my phone was ringing off the hooks. Aphids are just showing up like crazy. It can't be. It's August 25. Can't be. What do we do? Well, I don't know, but we never had them this late. But how bad? I said my pants are sticky.
Yeah.
Well, what were they like? Yesterday, I didn't. They're I
They
wasn't even
sticky.
seeing them. I mean, it's just like they are absolutely taking over.
Change your pants.
I said, Well, we better spray. I'd rather safe than sorry. So they sprayed, and I mean, people reported back it was another dry year. So 5, 7, 8 bushel gain by spraying them.
Yeah.
So they changed their season, and ever since then, we've got to kind of watch them through mid-September anymore. That they're keeping on coming, but
HTC One, I had that phone.
so you start to hit that time of in the 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
At that point in time, weeds were beginning to show resistance to Roundup or tolerance to Roundup, and then all of a sudden, boy, maybe we ought to start looking at pre-plant, pre-emerge herbicides again. Maybe considering some tank mixes and things like that. And then all of a sudden the herbicide world started to expand again.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I asked about that timeline because I think I started interning at Pioneer, and I was always on the seed side. I think 2008 would have been probably my first internship there, and I was more like Troy Bauer and Ryan Clayton were my agronomists. And then I went to the impact side full time after college, and so like Jared Tankey from now he's with NewTek.
He's right. He's on the NewTek side, right?
Would have been my boss there. So I was just trying to see correlate where you were in those.
Man, Jared's kind of up there on the ladder too.
Yeah, he is. I haven't called in a favor from him for a long time. He needs a call from me.
All right. Yeah.
So he used to. I sell obviously Hogemeyer, so we sell the same thing. He's just east of 35, and I'm west of 35. They might have some regional differences, but he's
right.
And I'm right on the line. I'm on.
I'm
on both sides.
Well,
so he's
you got about 5 miles to go here.
A few times, just come on, you're over here too. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that. But, yeah. So on the aphids thing, I haven't dealt with aphids for quite a while.
Okay, so they sort of went kind of dormant from about 2018 until last year, 2024.
Okay.
We really didn't see aphids, didn't spray for them. And then last year they came back, and what we found, probably thanks a little bit to our respray policies back when, pyrethroids weren't working, especially as you go north.
It eventually did get resistance.
Yeah, well, I'm whether we've tested resistance or it's tolerance or whatever it is. Bottom line is you need more than just a pyrethroid now, or to spray with confidence.
Right. Yeah. And where were the aphids last year? Because I don't think
it was all northern.
Yeah.
When I say northern, a little probably draw a line about Highway 20.
Okay.
Sioux City to Dubuque in Iowa.
And they come in from the edges, right?
They'll overwinter in buckthorn, which is typically found in creeks, streams, things like that. They'll overwinter there, and then they'll do several generations in the buckthorn and eventually move into the soybeans. But they'll also grow wings and move around.
Oh.
But even though they're an overwintering pest, they are really heavy north of us into Minnesota, in the lakes area.
Yep.
And they will tend to get more of them coming from Minnesota south into Iowa and northeast Nebraska. You almost watch the movement of where they're hitting the panic button to spray.
Because I've almost seen guys just go and spray their edges before, where they
where you're this far south and aphids are not a perpetual threat. That makes good sense.
That's what I learned to spray on was a pull type sprayer because we got that early 2000s, whenever that aphids year came, whenever
2003.
Whenever they came, Dad just turned me loose. That's when I learned how to spray because I think he was done spraying for the year.
By then, usually so.
Yeah.
I mean, what can the kid mess up, right?
Yeah.
Just go around the border.
Try not to drive over many. They're just beans.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that we all just say that, but
yeah, we say that, but when they start pushing 100 bushels an acre, the just beans they're not so bad. That's still $1,000 of revenue.
It is, and what I feel like has been more prevalent than the aphids around here has been spider mites.
Yeah. Yes, spider
good.
mites like dry weather.
Yeah.
They really propagate in dry weather. And if we use an insecticide to eliminate other insects, if you've got spider mite eggs out there, they will hatch, and all of a sudden their competition is gone.
Yeah.
For the most part, there are a few insecticides that leave their competitors there.
Okay.
But very very few.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, we just took you guys to school on more agronomic issues, but this is supposed to be a fun show.
Yeah. Well,
Ron and I are having fun.
I was going to say, you had your little game there you wanted to play, and I'll play my little game a little bit later. So, no, we're all good.
I want to know, is the family dairy farm still there?
Oh, heavens no. I went to college and the cows left.
Yep.
Which, I've got 2 younger brothers. They never milked. Tell me, and they both ended up in the Army, which was good. They'd come out on Memorial Day, served our country.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate and thank them for that, as we should all
Absolutely.
servicemen. And Dad was a World War II vet. In fact, kind of looking back through his family, all of his siblings were war veterans, except a sister that didn't.
Kind of sounds like you dropped the ball.
I kind of dropped the ball there. I mean, skirting away. Well, I was between Vietnam War and other conflicts, and there was no draft. And it's like, I could go to the military, or I could just go to college. And
You could do the Murph on Monday. You'd be
yeah.
be all right.
I don't remember how many times I've told that story, but I don't do very sophisticated or advanced workouts on a regular basis. But I had a neighbor across the street that was always doing CrossFit workouts, and then he got cancer, and it just kind of limited his mobility. So every Memorial Day, he'd do a modified Murph in his driveway, and I'd do the regular one. So I put a pull-up bar in my garage, and it was never the workout that was really awful. I mean, it's hard workout.
Yeah.
But still, do it in respective time together. It was the 6 or 7 days after that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, you're sore in places you didn't realize you should have been or could have been sore. And he ended up passing away this year. And I told myself that instead of doing the Murph in his memory on Memorial Day, I'm going to get a 6-pack of grain belts.
No, that sounds that sounds so much easier. And I bet you enjoy it way more.
I think
Okay, how old are you, Tanner?
I'm 37.
Yeah,
30,
okay.
Yeah.
You're about the same age as my oldest son. So Grain Belt must have been the cheap beer when you were in college. Is that the case?
Wow, so no, it wasn't for me. So he has Minnesota ties.
Okay,
so that's
gotcha.
neighbor Dan's beer of choice. For me, it was Natty Light was the beer of cheap.
It still is. I went out to Campus Town the other day, and literally they come out of AJ's, and it's Natty Light.
No,
whatever.
honestly, in college, like 2006 through 10, it was Busch Light and Natty Light and Keystone, right, were the cheap ones. And if you were feeling fancy, you got a Bud Light or a Coors Light.
Sure.
Well, I learned something the other day that kind of shocked me and sort of made me lose a little respect for Wisconsin. But they recouped. I had to spray a demo plot just by Dubuque, Iowa. Now, if you look at the map at Dubuque, Wisconsin, if you cross the border, you go this way and you're in Wisconsin, or that way you're in Illinois. Well, I had my son-in-law, I'd mentioned that I was, headed to Wisconsin once and came back. He said, "Did you bring any spotted cow?" No. Well, I'll think twice whether I, keep claiming you or not, So anyway, I had to do this demo plot, and I was early. I mean, it was an early morning. I got up like at 11:30 or midnight and drove over there. So it was still dark, so I thought, well, I'm just going to swing up to Wisconsin to get back in good graces, and get some spotted cow. Show up at the Casey's store, 5 minutes till 6. And, I mean, okay, the City Hall in Maskell?
Yeah.
They had that much spotted cow
Yeah.
on a display. So I march up there, grab a case, set it down on the counter. She starts adding up. "Oh, I can't sell this to you." I said, I am over, 21 or whatever the age. In fact, I probably qualify for a senior citizen. She says, no. We have a rule in Wisconsin. You can't sell beer until 6 a.m. So
5 minutes.
I thought, geez. I said, I'm kind of losing my confidence in Wisconsin. She says, well, yeah, but you got, you do understand that if you're like a 14-year-old kid at the bar with your parents, you can legally drink.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I'm back to having
all
confidence
right,
in your state here.
Well, I still remember the first time our family took our trip up to Minnesota, and we drove up on a Saturday, and brought the provisions that we thought were going to last us a little while. And, well,
Mm-hmm.
we had a really good Saturday.
Oh.
So we tried to go on Sunday to replenish.
Oh, yeah.
You can't buy it on Sunday.
In the state of Minnesota?
In the state of Minnesota. At least, unless they've changed it. But that was way back in the beginning.
Oh,
The
yeah.
only place you could buy alcohol on a Sunday was in a bar, and they had to serve it to you in single serving opportunities.
Just no off sale.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, that's going to make it for a long
I
Sunday.
always thought it was dumb. You go to the airport, and now everybody wants to leave at 5 in the morning, but they won't serve it to you until like 6 or 7 a.m.
Right.
But the one place to sit is at the bar while you're waiting for a plane.
Uh-huh.
And if you're my wife, you hate flying, so she has to have a glass of wine every time. They won't sell
I'll
it to
be
her.
darned.
But I got it at 8 o'clock. You're good.
Yeah.
So you got to book the later flight, not the early flight, apparently. And then you're okay. It's like the same deal, same day. Like,
Yeah.
really? I don't understand.
I'm just wondering when the cutoff is when they could still at night sell it.
Yeah.
I didn't ask that question.
Well, and that's I've always wondered that too. I mean, I get there's reasons that 2 o'clock in the morning you should probably send people home,
Right,
and shut
right.
the bar down. But does
Yeah.
it really change it much?
I don't know. I learned the hard way on the Minnesota deal. We were going up to go snow goose hunting, and we went up that way, and I was going to grab some beer on the way to South Dakota, and yep, it was a Sunday. Couldn't buy it.
Huh.
Couldn't buy it.
Don't worry, South Dakota. They'll take
Yeah.
care of you.
Yep.
We were working hard that first Sunday. The bartender, we sat in there for a long time, and
Yeah.
so we went through at least 2 shifts, and we're like, just set a case out back. I'll tip you $100.
Yeah.
No, if I get caught doing that, I just
Yeah.
really
Well,
makes me sound bad. Like I couldn't go a day without having to keep a beer.
So
Good plans. You know?
how we got to this was the dairy farm is not there anymore. Or is the ground there? Is the ground there?
Oh, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Per se. Mom passed away a little over a year ago. So we settled up on the estate. All of his siblings. Now, my oldest sister's passed away. But so we got everything settled up. I kept ownership of 1 quarter section.
Okay.
All right. And this one is kind of close to our heart because it's been in the family for 130 years. And my wife's a big genealogist. I mean, she kind of really digs into this kind of stuff. So we own that now. The son-in-law, they happen to live, clear down there too. It's a couple hours away from us. But it's like, well, if you want to farm it, Ben, we'll, let's do a 50-50 thing. So we're farming it this year together. So I'm back into row crop agriculture. Cool. Yeah, it is kind of neat. And out of the 160, there's about 60 acres of trees. So it's about 100 farmable.
Yeah.
We've got that in soybeans, and next year we'll go into corn, which kind of brings up another thing. I understand that you've got these places here in Iowa that they'll take your corn from your farm and turn that into your own whiskey.
Yeah.
And this same bunch of cousins where all of this land has been in the family, we get together every few years. And so maybe I shouldn't tell this because it's kind of obligate me to if they ever catch this. But if I can get that land and that corn and make our own family grown whiskey,
That'd be cool.
yeah, it would. Grandpa Geis, who we're all associated through, he was always in the apple cider business.
Oh.
It never occurred to me because he was one of the guys that survived the Great Depression. Never occurred to me at all. And my wife points this out. She says, "You mean he survived the Great Depression and Prohibition selling apple cider?"
Uh-huh.
So yeah, you see the signs on. Don't be so naive.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. So maybe I'm getting back into the family business
That's
if
cool.
we, if we do this. So
That is cool. So you guys have signs from that?
I don't. I
Yeah.
wish I did,
That
but
would be sweet.
yeah, we had an old 57 Chevy pickup that Grandpa had. Sweet cider, sweet music. Was on those those boards.
Yeah.
Kind of the extender boards you put on top of a pickup
Yep.
truck. And
That's what needs to be on your logo of your whiskey.
I'm glad you thought of that. I wouldn't have thought of that.
That would be cool.
yeah,
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
it would.
Yeah. If you don't have a logo already.
Well, we do actually have a family crest. I don't know what that actually
you
means.
put one on
but-
one side and the other on the other.
Yeah, there we go.
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
Look at
at
you.
us.
See, everybody just
Look at
comes
us.
here for the
Now
good
we get a
ideas.
bottle.
That's right.
All right.
We got
You're-
a
commission.
We got the show to put it on there.
bottle. Okay. Sweet
And we'll be
cider.
like, it tastes like Nebraska.
Well, see, I understand. I don't know that much about making whiskey, but make it out of corn.
Yeah.
But then there's other ingredients. One of which is like junipers,
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
cedars.
Yep.
Well, okay. Back on your map of Maskell, Nebraska, one of our biggest weed problems are cedar trees.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's males and there's females. The males produce the seeds.
Okay.
Now, my second son, he'll go out and harvest these seeds, these juniper seeds, and eat them, make them into jams. And, yeah. He likes them. It's got its right time and place, you know. But yeah, I could see that being part of the mash as well. So we might have a bridge of
That would be cool. to get some
of southern Nebraska corn and northeast Nebraska junipers, as part of that.
Yeah, it just has to be a bourbon. It has to be 51% corn.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So-
Yeah. Yeah. I've learned some of these things over the kind of investigating this thing.
Is this the family crest? Over here?
Oh,
That's what Google says, but
Germany.
yeah, it is.
Look at that. You had plants in your history. They put it into your family crest. Look at all them leaves and vines on the side of it.
There you go. Yeah, that's
Royalty topped off with tassels. Must have been a pretty important family.
must have. I think we're just poor dirt farmers and dairy farmers when we came over this way. Why did we leave? I don't know. I don't have that history.
Yeah, and why'd you stay?
I guess another project for my bride to try to figure out what that is.
That's pretty cool.
so you've been in agriculture for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I always like stories. What's your craziest story that's like behind the scenes that most people don't ever get to hear?
Well,
Like something dumb that happened, something that crashed, something that wrecked, or like
it's kind of like give me the knife type story.
Okay.
So, growing up on the dairy, before big round bales, all your hay bales were put up in small square bales.
Okay.
So we had the hay shed, which was, basically a roof on stilts. And then you pile your square bales. Oh man, that must have been 20 feet, 25 feet high. Well, mom and dad had all these kids, so shimmy up there and, feed the cows. So you'd climb up the hay bales and we had this, we always called it the corn knife. It was a machete, right?
Yeah.
And this, machete to cut the strings on the hay bales, and then you'd throw them over the edge, and then there was like a feeding bunk. So I don't know, we'd probably fed. Well, at our peak, we were milking 75 cows.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Let's just argument's sake say a bale per cow or whatever. So 75 bales. Just sort of line them up, and cut strings, throw them off, and feed them. Becky and I were up on the hay, way up high, and I was kind of lining up bales, and she was doing some cutting, and I kind of got ahead and said, throw me the knife. Well, I don't know what got to her that day.
Throwing
she wasn't
the
real
knife.
happy. But normally you sort of, throw it ahead or behind, and then you go, because, God forbid we walk the 10 steps to go get it. Man, that knife came after me, and you know how you get near the wind turbines and you hear the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And I was able to, we were talking Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, no.
It would have nailed in. So, see that scar right there?
Oh
That
yeah.
was 50-some years ago.
Oh,
That's a good scar.
That's a good one. Got out of doing chores that night.
Gotta have to do it yours.
Did you have to go get stitches?
Yeah, we stitched that one up,
Yeah.
and the number of times I got stitches was, just you go to the doctor's office in Seward, and it's like, okay, here's the Geis family,
Yeah.
But my dad, he was kind of like most of that deal. He lost these two fingers in a corn picker. Now you hear the corn picker.
Yeah.
So what's a corn picker do? It takes an ear corn and pulls it off. Well, if
Yeah.
that happens to be your thumb,
Yeah.
off
Same
she
thing.
goes, right?
Are
So-
you all right there, Corey?
I don't like that.
They took his index finger and moved it over and made a thumb.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So without a thumb, you just will be
yeah.
a monkey, right?
Yeah.
And Dad wasn't that agile, so he couldn't be a monkey. So they had to give him a thumb. So they made a thumb out of that. And one of his favorite things is back in like the 70s, they started to revise things at church, and it's like, okay, greet the person next to you type of a thing. Well, he'd love it when a new family came in, especially with young kids. and he'd reach down and shake their hand with his little three
Nub.
fingers,
Yep.
and the recoil on those little kids is just amazing. That it's just what's wrong with this freak out here?
I got a friend that does that all the time. He's like, "Give me 2."
Yeah.
And he has this crazy handshake, but yeah.
Yeah. So
It
anyway, he
is-
corn pickered this hand.
Yeah.
Several years later, I think that same hand got caught in an auger.
Oh no.
So they had to do a skin graft. So they took his hand for whatever, 6 weeks or whatever, and affixed it to his stomach so that it would grow new skin, and then they just cut that away. Well, the crazy thing is, he'd ever gain weight, his hand would get fat. He'd had this big old puffball on his hand because the fatty tissue from his stomach was here. And so you're putting on a little weight there, Carl. So,
Jeez.
And
then
then
the other hand,
back
he got
my hand to my stomach, then I'll be skinny the rest of my life.
There you go.
yeah. Then the other hand, he got shot in the Second World War. He was cleaning guns afterwards, and a bullet went through that. So that ended his war career because that was in like 1944. Yeah. And by the time he rehabilitated, the war was over. And he and Mom got married, and 8 years later had first kid, and 8 years later had the second kid. I don't know what they were doing in the in-between times, but didn't have kids. So and then boom, 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 boom. They just started popping out every year and a half.
I bet you didn't expect that story.
No.
You got what you asked for.
I was thinking there was like a seed story of some guy that screwed up somewhere or something, but no.
I wasn't even thinking about those.
It is wild when you think about kids' perspective, like when he was, scaring them at church or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It is amazing. My daughters will pick out somebody that's missing a limb or a finger or from so far away. Like, Dad, she doesn't have all of her fingers.
Uh-huh.
But why are you even looking at that? But it's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Well, and those kids are so brutally honest, Tanner.
Yeah.
Where'd your leg go? They'll just boom right out there in front of everybody. So
Why don't you have a finger?
yeah.
I do worry that there's not as many kids growing up like you did or we did it, when we were younger. Just going off and feeding cows. Like,
right.
Parents are so coddling now to all their kids, and for good reason. There's a lot of bad people out there, but man, they're
you're
missing
right,
out
you're
on a lot of good experiences. Shoot, I remember my cousin pulling me in a little Red Ryder wagon behind a four-wheeler, and I had my paintball gun, shooting my other guns. And we hit a bump and just went freaking tumbling, It's just like the stupid crap that we did.
The sledding parties, you'd of course we didn't do a lot of sledding because we're like flat as this table is, but with our kids, we raised them for a lot of it was up in the big hill country, and you'd have a quarter-mile hill, you get up a lot of speed by the time you get to the bottom of that thing, no real broken bones off of that.
I was talking about that with a vet last night. Was at our house tattooing cattle, and their daughters were with, and they said they took those those poly totes with a cage around them. They took the poly out, cut handles into it, took the cage off, and they made sleds out of it.
So a cage tank.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah, because you have the.
And they were
the
going down with
size.
that, and they tried that, and it's like, that was good. But then what we were talking about was these little cattle feeders, they got the plastic insert to them.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I took those out. And then our buddy Joel says, hell, you don't have to take those out. It's just a runner sled if you keep the whole feed bunk and just
There
keep
you go.
driving. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Never thought about using a feed bunk as a sled.
That would
but,
work.
Yeah.
It would work.
Take the old ones that I always had those, and my cows would get in them and just bust the crap out of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'd last about a year,
Well, if you could still, if you still had the runners on them, mine, those rust out almost immediately, and then they wouldn't slide.
Yeah.
But,
You got to clean
So
your
you've got
lot
cattle
out.
now?
yeah. Well, Cindy has cattle.
Oh.
I help Cindy with her. Yeah. So
That's like
we
a
made the
Dave
decision back as soon as we started having kids. She's going to stay home and raise kids.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to make this work. Things we're going to do without, but she was going to raise the kids. So, what could she do if she, that she could contribute without having to leave the kids? So that's where the cow calf thing. And that's once we moved up north where it's pasture land.
Well, hell, you're rich today.
Oh my gosh, are we
She's
ever
rich.
doing well?
She's
rich.
rich today.
Hey, I would say she's rich because of how she married.
Well,
but,
yeah.
No, cow calf is doing really good, but I would say, the last 10 years prior to that, it's been kind of nip and tuck.
Yeah.
So we have just a commercial herd, average herd. Right now we got 43 cows. Average herd size in the U.S. is 50. What's changed in the cattle business, though, is people like us that historically, okay, you're going to net, about $100 a calf, 50 calves, $5,000. The numbers are going down, and it's people like us saying, why am I doing this for that money?
Right.
Which $5,000 is a lot, but you can get that in the mail as a bill from some stupid repair on your house or car or whatever. It's all gone.
Yeah. So, cattle numbers building back up. It's like, people that just forget it. You know what? For $5,000, I'll bet I can find somebody that would come out and hunt that ground and give me a $5,000 to do that, and not have to do chores in the middle of winter, not have to fight the mud, and so those people are kind of getting out and staying out of the cattle business.
Right.
Even this up prices and up cycle. Normally that, buy, get back in, and then great, flood the market. By the time those calves are selling, I missed it. But I'll get the next year, and then. But those people are staying away. The big producers are still producing, right? But the small ones are.
So does she have a crossbred herd, or?
Yeah, it's probably half black and half not.
Yeah.
And we got 3 Herefords out of those, and one of our bulls is a quarter Hereford, and for whatever reason throws a lot of red calves.
Huh.
Even on all, even a few of them all black. It's like a red Angus type of color instead of a black. Cool. Which they discount the reds, as feeder calves, which is kind of a bummer, but
it tastes the same.
Yeah, that's just it.
Do you do any direct to market type stuff, or all?
No, because we generally don't retain past feeder cattle.
Okay.
Although we're retaining heifers now.
Yeah.
But not to repopulate our herd,
Yeah.
because we're kind of hitting the age now that we're going to not have cattle in the wintertime.
Yeah.
When you've got grass, but you don't have...
Hold on.
Sorry.
So when you have grass, but you don't have corn stalks to put them on, winter gets expensive and time consuming.
Yeah.
Because you have to hay them
Yeah.
all the time. And our resource is grass, so we really should have cattle on our place, May through September, October.
Yeah.
What that really says is we ought to be buying feeder cattle in, March, April, May, over the summer, and then they're out of here.
Yep.
And that probably fits us better.
Oh yeah. Neighbor and I I have commercial hogs, so I have hogs in barns.
Yeah.
But my family's history was they raised pigs on pasture, but
really?
But they always would bring them in the barn during the winter months,
Oh,
right?
right.
And they'd have a few litters, but nothing like they could out there. So there was probably 2 litters more a year. And my neighbor wanted to get into some Berkshire hogs and some of that kind of stuff. And first winter, he's like, "This is stupid."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I kind of told you it was going to be like this. It does suck. Water's freezing. You're not set up for it."
Yeah.
So we didn't do that too long, but they still tasted good.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know it, but you have a doppelganger. Go down 2 videos.
Hey, I've been told that Steve Spurrier...
Oh, I could see a little bit of that.
Somebody, yeah.
Why does it keep jumping?
I don't
on
know.
me?
That one right there.
This one?
Yeah. This is an auctioneer. Just even listen to the list.
A lot of mannerisms even. Yeah.
The mannerisms are the same. Yeah. It's 3-time world champion Jeff Stokes, and you made me think of him as soon as I walked in the door. But talks just like you. Yep.
That's funny.
Well, so I told you played your game earlier. I told you I had a game prepared.
Oh, you do have.
Oh, yeah. Fire away.
This either or. So it's just real fast, real quick. I'm going to make all 3 of you play either or. So I'm going to give you 2 choices, and you get to pick one of them.
Who's going first?
Okay, do we just alternate around?
Yeah, we're just going to go all the way around. So you get to start every single time, and then we'll just, Dave and
Okay.
Corey will fill in after you. So is it bacon or sausage
Bacon.
for breakfast?
Sausage.
Bacon.
And I'll tell you a story about bacon when
Go
we get a
ahead.
chance, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, how do you cook bacon? Okay, so I'm an early riser, kind of like with cattle business,
I could tell.
growing up on a dairy, right?
You got here at 7:30 from Nebraska.
Yeah, well, I actually spent the night last night in Des Moines,
okay,
but
okay.
it wouldn't be out of the question to
Yeah,
have done that,
right.
right? But so I'll get up at 4 typically every morning. Start the coffee, put the bacon on, very low. About an hour later, but as you're getting a cup of coffee every so often, flip the bacon. After about 2 or 3 hours, you put a bacon piece in that's that big, and at the end of 3 hours, it's just hardly shriveled up at all and perfectly done.
Really?
Then you siphon off the extra bacon grease, slap a spot of butter on there, warm that up, and then throw your eggs in there. I'm the breakfast making champion, right?
Well,
Bacon and
It
eggs.
also takes you 3
virtually-
hours.
No, it doesn't. I mean, but so I'm telling this story to a buddy of mine up in Sioux City. Well, to a group, like this.
Yeah.
And about a month later, I saw him again. He says, "You know that bacon thing? That works. That
So
works. That's how you make bacon, guys." All right, next question.
I
Low
like
and
bacon
slow,
in the
huh?
oven.
What's
I
that?
like
Low
bacon
and slow.
I like bacon in the oven.
Yeah,
Well, it's the same kind of a concept,
Right, yeah.
except for you're not heating up a big oven. You're
Right.
doing the little pan,
Yeah.
and now you're all set up for your eggs to follow
true.
in a little bit of bacon grease and butter,
Yes.
and that's good food.
Right. It is.
All right, so we did breakfast. What about for dinner? Steak or a pork chop?
Steak.
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 Hey, I'm in the beef business. I mean, all due respect, pork, but
I'm
yeah.
in the pork business, and I take a steak, but I do love a good pork chop.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can't afford steak every day, so I have to rotate some pork in because it's
So if you marinate those things and then grill them, they are
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they're very steak-like
yeah.
taste and
And the
texture and
smokers,
stuff.
the pellet smokers that have come
yeah.
along, they've put it. Oh man, they make things easy.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Dessert, homemade pie or homemade
Pie.
ice cream?
always pie.
Oh, he didn't
Always
even-
pie.
I didn't have to put a second
Ice
choice
cream.
out.
No, that's my favorite dessert is pie.
The ice cream's homemade too.
Yep.
I gotta go homemade ice cream, but it's got a piece of strawberry rhubarb pie with some homemade ice cream on it.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
What's the pie of choice, Ron?
Well, it depends who's making it. But my daughter that makes the sour cream raisin, that's the best.
A sour cream
doesn't
raisin?
sound good.
Oh,
pie?
it's delicious.
What the heck?
Absolutely delicious with the meringue.
If you were Rob Sharkey, you'd have to have a piece of apple pie with a slice of Velveeta cheese on top.
Okay, so my wife went on
Velveeta cheese?
Velveeta cheese.
Yeah.
My wife went
slice of
on
it.
a binge a few years back to try to make the perfect apple pie, which was great because I'd sample it. And, well, not quite this time. You always find a little something,
Yeah,
But, oh man,
yeah.
did she get good at that? My mother-in-law's pretty doggone good at most any fruit pie
Yeah.
too. So, I'm pie spoiled. But yeah, my favorite is my daughter's sour cream raisin.
You ever had the peanut butter pie at Aunt Maud's, Dave?
Yes, I have.
No.
You have
Oh
too?
yeah. Oh, that's
That's-
delicious.
You would like it.
I'm not a big pie guy.
I know you're not, but that one I think
Yeah.
you would like. Peanut butter and chocolate.
But think about you're hitting almost every food group. You got fruit typically. You got your breads and cereals. You got your dairy with a little bit of butter in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only missing the meat, so you got to have that pork chop or the steak to go with it. Now you got the perfect meal right there.
All right. What about beer or whiskey?
Beer.
whiskey.
Oh, man. It depends on what day and all that, but
It's both.
I will go with the whiskey. Yeah.
Okay. What about planting season or harvest season?
I'm an October kind of a guy. I just love the fall.
So far, planting.
What do you mean so
You
far?
haven't had.
I haven't really had a good harvest.
Well, you
haven't. That I
It's
had.
your it's second year farming.
Second year,
and
yeah.
it was all silage.
It was all
year.
silage last
Okay.
year, so I'm still in the. I like the planting mode because I just geek out on equipment. So.
Yeah. I mean, I should say harvest because I know that's what the majority should be, but I'm a planting guy too.
Yeah,
I mean, I love harvest, but it just drags on so long. Planting, it just something about coming out of winter and you're kind of in the winter doldrums and you're just like spring and new life and you get to see it, this little tiny seed grow up into this 12, 13
Okay,
foot
so here's the thing.
tall plant.
You're a seed guy.
Yeah.
I'm a chemical guy.
Yeah.
You're a nurturer. You plant this seed. You
Yeah.
watch it grow. You watch it develop. You
Yeah.
follow it through to harvest.
And then you come in and it's scorched earth.
I'm a killer.
I'm a killer.
I'm a trained, paid killer.
A
I
weed
come and kill
assassin.
things. So that's a difference. And that was the biggest, probably the mindset adjustment between doing both the seed and the
Oh,
chemical
yeah.
job. You went from being a nurturer to being a killer.
Yeah.
Even cavemen had two different jobs for that.
Right.
It just,
Yeah.
it's just a dichotomy.
You missed the tea one. That's the best one.
I was skipping that one. I can come back to it. What about sweet tea or unsweetened tea?
I am a Yankee all the way. I do not like sweet tea at all.
Long Island.
Long Island.
that would be mine. I don't like either one of those.
I'm an unsweet as well, and if it is gonna be sweet, I like a little lemonade in it. A little John Daly.
Yeah, do that.
I can do either or. For me, sometimes you can get a sweet tea that I'd like to get an unsweetened tea at the same time and cut it.
It's not a John Daly. John Daly would have vodka in it. It's an Arnold Palmer.
Oh,
Arnold Palmer.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Little Tito's in
But
it.
that's good too.
That's pretty good. Well, that was my little game.
All right.
Appreciate
Well, that's
you
interesting.
humoring me. I like to throw those in there, and you played along well because that's what it does. It drives extra conversation, a little bit of storytelling.
Yeah. So how would you answer those?
Yeah, I'm bacon.
Huh?
I'd probably still choose a steak, but I've had a lot of really good pork chops.
Yeah.
I grew up in a hog farm, from to finish, so that's what we always had in the freezer, and you just get so good at cooking them. The key is to undercook it.
Right.
Like, don't get anybody sick, but you got to take it off before the internet tells you to take it off.
Well, yeah, they kind of scared a bunch of people that treat it like chicken, and took it to 160. It's like, no, 140, 145 is plenty.
Yeah.
So think of like your muscle meats. The only part that's exposed to bacteria and bad stuff is just that outer skin.
Yeah.
That's the part that's got to be heated up.
Yep.
Right? So I was trying to think where my mind was going on.
I don't like raw stuff.
Well,
is
yeah.
crazy.
Now hamburger, that's all been,
Yeah.
all of that could potentially
we
be
got-
contaminated.
Well,
How do you
Kelly
eat sushi?
Garrett,
Like even that.
it's great.
Ugh.
Yum. I love
Oh,
sushi.
that's good. I
Yeah.
had some on Sunday night.
It's so bad.
I still think, what does Kelly Garrett call it? Because he eats hamburger raw.
Tiger meat.
Yeah.
that-
When they eat it raw, it's tiger meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
You
He's a
got to
special
really
guy.
know where that meat, that their sanitation process at the butcher and
Yeah.
all that is very good,
Okay, and I know I'm probably pushing the envelope here. Have you guys ever had Holstein or Jersey, known to be Holstein or Jersey roast or any steak?
I have
not.
no.
No. But I just saw a cap in my in-laws'
Does
house.
McDonald's count?
Guys, I tell you what, I had a Jersey roast.
Yep.
A Pioneer representative, his wife made this Jersey roast in Remsen, Iowa. It absolutely was delicious.
Better than Wagyu.
beyond-
It's the new
Well,
Wagyu.
I think so. Here's the thing: we used to, have dairy, and it was Holstein.
Yeah.
And we would fatten. I swear, we had that thing on nothing but corn, and nothing but corn. I mean, you might give a little dribble of hay every so often, but it was nothing but corn for 2 or 3 years before it was finally fat. Man, is that good! Corn makes really, really, really good meat.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of forgotten how good that was until, till I was at Remsen and had this
Yeah.
roast, and it's like, that's just like Mom would make or better. And it was
Yeah.
Jersey. They were
Yeah.
Jersey dairy farmers too at the time. Boy, did they make good,
No,
good beef.
I know it's good. I just never had it. I had some buddies from college that's how they got started farming. Was they were buying all the reject or the
Cool cows,
steers,
yeah.
from dairies.
Yeah.
Because you used to be able to. They used to give them away.
Oh yeah.
Or you'd buy them for $25 or $50, and they'd bottle feed them, and
Mm-hmm.
they'd have a whole lot. They put up buildings like your in-laws have.
Oh, right,
for
the hoop
those.
deals. That was a big deal back-
Yep.
yeah.
And I don't think they do Holsteins, or maybe they got into more like
Well,
crossbreds or something.
so now they're
but-
doing a lot of the sexed semen so
Yeah.
that they are naturally having way more heifers. And then those that they don't want, well, that's a good milker cow, but I don't want her offspring, they'll breed it to black.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a beef dairy mix.
Yep.
Do you think we should ever be allowed? You just totally made me go offshoot. Sex semen. So we pick it. We want heifers. We want to
Yeah.
retain our herd right now, and that's what we're doing. But what if people got to sex semen? Like
You can.
we want a boy. We want a girl.
I think you absolutely
can. You do that?
Yeah, you got to pay a lot of money for it, but yeah, you can.
No.
I didn't know you could do that.
I've been looking at these pictures of this
Pies?
sour cream
Oh, there it
raisin
is,
pie.
yeah.
You think of the oatmeal raisin cookies, and they can
Yeah.
kind of throw you off like it looks like a chocolate chip cookie sometimes.
Oh, it's horrible.
This looks like a peanut butter chocolate chip pie,
Yeah.
and if I grabbed that and didn't know what it was,
Yeah, it's like when you
Whoa,
go to
that reminds me when I was first married. So Cindy and I were living in our first house, brand new bride. I walk in the door, and she's just, here, try this. She had this big spoon full of brown stuff that she had just made. And I'm thinking, oh, chocolate pudding. This is going to be so good. I took a bite out of that spoon. I must have had half of it in that bite. I almost spit it right back in her face. It's like, whoa, it just, and then, of course, new bride just burst into tears. Oh, it's been all day trying to call grandma. It's the gravy. And I said, whoa. Did you say gravy? was gravy. Oh, that's gravy? Of course, that was probably the wrong thing to say.
Yeah, no, that's great.
More tears. It's like, I thought I was going to take a bite of chocolate pudding.
Yeah.
It was a bite of gravy.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's actually good gravy. I just, but like
Yeah,
you said,
your
when
wires
you're
are crossed.
expecting this and
It's
got
like-
that,
Your
it throws
parents
you
have a pop. You think it's a Coke, and it's a iced tea.
Oh, yeah.
And even though you like iced tea, it's like, or worse, chew spit.
Yeah. Oh, man. That reminds me when we were kids. So once every month, Mom and Dad would get together with the card club. And so about once a year, it was held at our house, And this was back in the 60s. And, have bottles of beer. Well, of course, hot shot kids, man. All these, we're up early and kind of cleaning up. And it's like, there's leftover beer here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take get the little glass drop out. We thought we were really something.
Sure. Yeah.
Of course, somebody sure enough was smoking and put their ashes in. You get one of those. And, boy, that just kind of quelled it until the next year rolled around. You forgot that, and then you do it again. But we thought we were really something.
It's a good deterrent.
Yeah, that was that.
Good deterrent.
That was it for that party, and took another year or so to the next party before you'd make that mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all had instances of that where you look at something and you try it and it doesn't taste like it's supposed to. And
Yeah. Well, that kind of reminds me, sort of struck the idea, driving. Okay. Now, just between us, you can stop the camera here, but I've had a speeding ticket or two, right?
Oh,
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah. All
You're
right.
Dave's
sitting
had
next to the
40
king
or
of Iowa.
45.
Yeah. Well, anyway, my wife never had a single ever speeding ticket until 1 week before she turned 40 years old. And then she got nabbed over at Yankton. And I'm going to tell you, it's like a speed trap. You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. It's like 45. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, got busted. Speeding ticket. That was on a Saturday. Next day, Sunday, on our way to church. And the two oldest kids, I mean, they were just like, oh, why, Dad, why don't you let Jeff Gordon drive? He's, little Leadfoot ought to get us there sooner,
Yeah.
So we're kind of listening to this for a couple minutes, and I don't even know what possessed me. But I'm like, all right, guys, you make it to 40 years old without a single speeding ticket, I will give you $1,000 cash.
Yeah.
Total silence, for 30 seconds. And then little Miss Sour Cream Raisin Smarty Pants. So let me make sure I get the rules straight. I can have a DUI, but I'm still good for the 1,000, right? Well, I said what I said. But so let's fast forward.
Yeah, how many checks have you written?
Well, nobody's 40 yet.
Oh.
I mean, the oldest is about.
Yeah.
But Jake, let's see, he'll turn 39. Not a single speeding ticket. Closest he came was, I think it was when Mitzi was born. Maybe it was Gianna. Anyway, on the rush to the hospital, and then got stopped. He's like, labor and blah blah blah. It's go.
Yeah.
So dodge that bullet. Anna has batted her little blue eyes and talked her way out of. So 39 almost, 37 or so almost, zero.
Yeah.
Speeding tickets.
My son actually sent me a text message this morning. I'm already at school. There have been 4 cops on your way. Be careful.
Your son.
I have a new radar detector. He goes to school before me. And
You
so-
drive the
Is it last day of school? Or
it's
really
nope,
close?
It's really close.
Yeah.
It's the last week here. But yeah, we take the same route, and he left before me. And so I got on the Cambridge Blacktop there. Sure
Set the
enough, there's
cruise?
a sheriff
Oh.
right there. So
Uh-huh.
it's like, yep, all right. Got the
Oh,
radar detector
yep.
out. So.
Spring fever, man.
Do
We're
you not
going
set
to hit
the
our
cruise?
quota today.
Are you a foot?
Whatever just feels right.
But do you set it?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have adaptive cruise now, and it kind of pisses me off
I
because
agree.
it knows the speed limit. And so as soon as you get into a new speed zone, the truck will slow itself down. I'm like,
Really?
what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
I don't like it because sometimes I'll forget that it's set on the extra sensitive, and I'll be 8 to 10 car lengths away from the car in front of me, and it's already slowing me down.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is. Yep.
I can't pass anybody when you do that.
Yeah.
It's
My
just a
semi
setting.
has that. It pisses me off.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll be.
Yep. All
I don't
blue.
know. I'm
All
fighting a
blue.
ticket right now, and I've been working on my defense for this ticket. And
He
The
represents himself.
the guy said he came to my car, and he says this, so I'm hoping it's on body camera. I'm thinking it is. And he said, I wasn't going to give you a ticket, but I went and looked at your record, and you know what? I'm going to give you a ticket. And I want to take that. That's not how we make decisions, because I want to say, I want, my defense is, okay, well, if that's the case, then, hey, I wasn't going to give you a ticket, but I went and looked, and you've never been in an accident in 44 years. You must be a damn good driver.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a ticket. We could use the
He
same.
selected the wrong criteria.
Yeah, wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into court and say, well, wait a minute. If we get to pick what criteria we're deciding to give you a
profiling.
ticket,
Can we know that when this is? So can we go and watch
you
this?
totally can. This is public, and that's like, I'm working on the defense anyway.
Yeah, you got to throw the word profiling in there
Wait,
somehow.
We're media. Can we be in as media?
Oh, you got to get one of those goofy looking hats
and
though,
record
and
it?
then
Oh,
you'd be
yeah.
all right. Yeah.
We
Large camera flashes.
Yeah.
So that kind of reminds me, back
Courtroom
when I was in
sketches.
high school, I was headed out of town, and I got clocked for doing 47 in a 35 between 12th and 13th streets.
12.
Okay, and got a ticket, and it's like, God, bummer. So the next day back, it's like, wait a second, right at 12th Street, the 35 turns into 40.
Yeah.
And he wrote on the ticket it was between 12th and 13th Street.
Ah.
So the next day, I got a camera. And remember, you don't just take a picture and have it. So I got a camera, got the film developed, showed up at court, represented myself. So here's this snot-nosed 16-year-old going against the cop and the county attorney and the judge. And I didn't know any of the processes or procedures, but they had all their rigmarole. And then it was my turn. I said, well, Your Honor, I don't think I was doing 47 in a 35, despite what the policeman says. And I don't know how to go about this, but I got pictures to say that that's not even a 35 zone. He says, bring it. He told me how to do it, and I brought it forward, and he looked at it and all this. And basically he said, you're right, they're wrong, not guilty, pounds his gavel. And the attorney stands up and says, this is going to get appealed. And he went stomping out of there. And I'm like,
For a speeding
man,
ticket.
I thought I beat this thing, but now what? He says, he's just a blowhard. He says, but you were going too fast.
Two miles.
He was right.
Fast,
Well, 7 too fast.
Oh, I thought you said
7
45.
miles an hour too
Yeah,
fast. But I think fighting that and winning that, I got pretty gutsy then after that, and so that's probably where I've had a ticket or two, just thinking I could outsmart them. But you're only going to outsmart them so often.
I did that once, but I asked the judge what his opinion was, which before he can deliberate on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I got a no seatbelt ticket, and literally in this case, I was putting my seatbelt on, pulling it out of the deal. I'd seen the cop, made me think, put my seatbelt on. So I put my seatbelt on. Guy pulls me over. He's like, you weren't wearing your seatbelt. I'm like, dude, you just saw me put it on. He's like, yeah, I know, but you weren't wearing it when you pulled out of the driveway there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? The point is to keep people safe, whatever. So I appealed it, and I just went and asked the judge. I said, when do you put your seatbelt on? Do you do it before you move the vehicle, or do you do it while you start moving the vehicle and then put your seatbelt on? The judge kind of smiled. He says, well, actually, I do it like you. As I'm pulling out of the driveway, that's when I put my seatbelt on. But nonetheless, the law says you're supposed to have it before the vehicle moves, so I still got to give you a ticket.
Yeah.
So
Well, that
I
sounds-
still got
yeah.
it, but the judge kind of smiled and chuckled, and it made me feel good.
That's kind of how my dad, he got a ticket for doing. There was a time there where the speed limit was 55, mandatory, whatever, and even interstate was 55. This is during the energy crisis, whatever, late 70s. So he goes to court. They clocked him for doing, I don't know, whatever, over the speed limit, and he said, by golly, my speedometer said I was doing this. And the judge says, well, there's an easy way that you can tell, how your speedometer is working. What do you mean? So just go down the road, go exactly at the mile marker, go exactly 60 miles an hour, and at 1 mile an hour later, then it should be exactly 1 minute, and then you know whether your speedometer is right or not. And if you're set at 60 and you get there in a minute and 5 seconds, then it's off 5 miles an hour. If you or 55 seconds, then it's 5 miles the other way.
Yeah.
Dad said, would you repeat that story just one more time? I said, yes. Set your speedometer, or set your speed at 60 miles an hour. He says, so it's okay if I'm driving 60 miles an hour according to you, the judge.
Yeah.
Case dismissed.
There's always a loophole.
Oh, yeah.
There's always something.
That's good. This has been fun. I'm glad that you popped over here. It's always more fun to do recordings like this in person. Always have a good time. Ooh, I wonder if that's a listener. Toronto.
Toronto.
All from Canada.
Wow.
Canada.
We'll have to check into that. But no, thank you so
All right.
much for sitting with us. This has been a lot of fun, and for playing along, sharing some of your stories.
You bet. It's great to meet you guys. Keep
Yeah.
up the good work.
Yeah,
You
we had
too.
a good time.
I feel like I should say something different sitting here drinking coffee. Like,
Well, there
make
you
sure
go.
the pot's hot. You deserve it.
Well, I'll take another cup while you're at it.
Yeah,
So
we-
we can
I
do
was
that.
wondering why Tanner's got Christmas going, sugar and spice.
Well, we were short
we
on
ran the
dishes.
dishwasher, and the dishes weren't clean.
He's got a good one.
Hey, I do.
He's got a
Well,
good one.
a better kind of nitrogen, stabilized nitrogen. Hey,
That's
I like
N-Serve.
that.
That's N-Serve.
Must be N-Serve.
Old
I think
school
you got the
N-Serve
good one.
advertising.
It
yeah.
is. That's a relic.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
So
It
well-
should be. It belongs on your wall with all your other neat.
Oh, we got
Ah,
to drink
you gotta
out
put
of
to
it.
work. Yes,
Well, that's true.
that's right. Cool.
All right. Well, make sure the pot's hot. You deserve it. Yeah.
All right.